Hi, I'm Divya Velu. I'm a second year internal medicine resident at UAB Huntsville Regional Medical Campus. I'm here to discuss with you about an interesting case I came across, which is coronary arteriovenous fistula, an uncommon finding presenting in association with acute coronary syndrome, and an approach of targeted PCI beyond it. There are no disclosures to make regarding this case. Before we proceed with our actual case, let's talk something about introduction. We know coronary arteriovenous fistulas are not some diagnosis that we hear in our day-to-day life. We know they are rare, uncommon. From the literatures, we know that they are a rare subgroup accounting for less than 1% of cardiac anomalies. These are usually congenital in etiology. There are no known acquired causes found so far. Majority of the coronary fistulas are known to originate from the right coronary system rather than the left, and also known to terminate commonly into the cardiac chambers almost 75% of the times, when they are termed as coronary cameral fistula, or they can terminate into the adjacent great vessels of the heart, which are the superior or inferior vena cava. In those conditions, they are termed as proper coronary arteriovenous fistulas or coronary caval fistulas. Association of such a coronary fistula with acute coronary syndrome in the same fistulous vessel has been rarely described in the literature to date. Coronary fistula in such settings poses significant challenges with visualization of the distal part of the vessel, and the choice of revascularization strategy is almost complex. Here comes the actual case. 53-year-old male presented to emergency department with complaints of acute onset substernal chest pain radiating to the arm and to his jaw. No significant prior cardiac history was noted except hypertension and hyperlipidemia. In other terms, he was never seen by a cardiologist in his life before that day. Initial EKG was consistent with acute inferior valve myocardial infarction. Heart alert was activated immediately and patient was transferred to cath lab with no delay. Now, what happened inside the cath lab is what made the case more interesting. We initially proceeded with visualization of the left coronary system, which revealed significant disease involving left anterior descending and left circumflex artery. Then we went on with visualization of right coronary system. We noted the right coronary artery was an extremely large vessel approaching 12 to 14 millimeter in the proximal segment, which is around 3 to 4 times that of normal. Moving down, the mid-segment was seen to be a normal-sized vessel. However, a large trunk was noted to be branching off this mid-segment. When we tried to trace this trunk back, we noted that it was continuing as a fistulous connection draining into the superior vena cava with progressive filling of the contrast. Further below, the distal segment was hardly visualized. In this scenario, we could only guess the poor visualization is partly due to thrombosis and partly due to underfilling because of the contrast stealing by the fistulous connection. In the first angiographic clip, you can appreciate the underfilling of the distal right coronary artery because of all the contrast stealing by the fistula. In the second angiographic clip, you can trace back the origin of the fistula from right coronary artery draining into the superior vena cava. Owing to the need to assess the ongoing pathology in the distal right coronary artery, we need to come up with a strategy to improve visualization. Given the benefit of doubt for possible thrombotic burden in the distal segment, a run-through wire was advanced into it, followed by a rail support with 2.5 mm balloon catheter. Over this, a 6 French guideliner device was advanced beyond the origin of the fistula into the distal right coronary artery. With further injection of contrast, it is clear that visualization is successfully achieved, as we can appreciate in this angiographic clip. Left anterior oblique caudal view showing extensive RPDA and RPLA system with distal 90% RCA stenosis, confirming our suspicion. Further, to achieve coronary revascularization, the occluded distal right coronary artery with the high thrombotic burden was dilated with 2.5 mm balloon and stented with a 3.5 mm Resolute Onyx drug-eluting stent inflated to 20 atmospheres. Regarding coronary arteriovenous fistula, a heart team approach was applied to complete revascularization. Given the patient's relatively young age and long complex segments of the disease in the left coronary system, we elected to proceed with a surgical approach. Coronary artery bypass grafting was performed in conjunction with the surgical ligation of fistula successfully. These are the CT angiographic pictures of the heart before and after the surgical fistula repair. In the first picture, you can appreciate the fistula's connection emerging from the right coronary artery and terminating into the SVC, which is not well seen here. But however, in the next picture, you can hardly appreciate any fistula connection because of the successful surgical ligation. Regarding follow-up, 1 year from the procedure, the patient continued to remain asymptomatic with no further complications. This case depicts an uncommon association of a coronary arteriovenous fistula with acute coronary syndrome involving the same vessel. This combination of pathology presents significant challenges during revascularization and also unique decision-making process towards complete revascularization. With a coronary fistula arising proximal to the occluded vessel, distal visualization is obviously challenging because majority of contrast is directed down the high flow fistula route. Several solutions could be employed either to inject a large volume of contrast at a higher flow rate using automated injector at the risk of contrast-induced nephropathy, or to advance a guide extension catheter down beyond the origin of the fistula into the thrombosed vessel, which would then provide excellent visualization as we did here. The congenital heart disease guidelines direct for surgical ligation or transcatheter embolization of all large fistula, given the risk of complications such as coronary steal, progressive dilation, structure compression, fistula rupture, and endarteritis. In this case, we chose a heart team approach with surgical option as a one-stop shop, but in patients who are at high surgical risk, an informed decision towards transcatheter treatment could be employed as well. Feel free to contact if there are any questions or concerns. Thank you.